If I got on my knees and I pleaded with you not to go, but to stay in my arms.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Granny's Peach Tea, episode 194 for those who are counting. We are back on this Monday evening, and we got a lot to get into here, most of it being Daredevil Born Again. But we've got that. We got episodes 5 through 7 because Jason and I got a little catching up to do since we were not on last week. But we shall. And we will be continuing our Alan Moore run as we move on to A League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which Jason has also read, so I am fascinated to get into that as well, because that is going to be a definitely different perspective than what I have. I have not read the graphic novel by Alan Moore, and I just saw the movie. So I always find that these are some of the best discussions too, because I'm just the regular moviegoer in this spot, and you are the person who has the comic book background now. So
it's a rarity.
That's why we have
usually
the show.
Roles are reversed.
I know, right? Like I like it. I like flipping the roles, and we see what's what. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us this Monday evening. If you're joining us on the Facebook live stream, if you're joining us on YouTube, or wherever you found your audio-only podcast, we're opening up with Please Stay by the Crying Shames, which is the song playing at the end of episode 7 of Daredevil Born Again. So if you've seen that, pretty good stuff. But Jason, what's up? How was your week?
Yeah, week's been all right. Moving and shaking. A lot of stuff going on. Preparing for the spring break, which is coming up, which is nice. And I got a little something to drop here. I texted you before about this, Ed, and you kind of gave me the exclamation, but I didn't know what your thoughts. But I found out today through a friend of the show, Walter, who's my co-teacher, who has read the entire Invincible run, and he just literally this week started watching the cartoon, the show, and he says to me, he goes, I think it's crazy the way they just sort of drop Battle Beast in there, and like you don't even know who he is, and I'm like, yeah, it's crazy, right? Like they get him in the jail cell, and he went, no, I mean the first season, and I went, what the fuck? Battle Beast was in the first season? I did not realize that, because how would I? I had no idea who Battle Beast was. They didn't even give him a name in that first episode.
When you told me that earlier, I got to admit, I was caught off guard. I don't remember it at all. I don't. So I will fully admit it. I don't recall it.
I didn't either. I thought the first time we saw him, and Battle Beast is, I'd like to say the spirit animal of this show at this point. I mean, he's voiced by Michael Dorn, Sir Michael Dorn, as he should be if he was in England, known for Worf and Gargoyles, and you could Google this, because Walter knew, Walter knows where it's all going, so he knew who Battle Beast was. We had no idea when we first saw it that was anyone, but he is. He's in the episode where the guy who turns his skin to rock. We just saw the episode with where, right? So at some point, he, the metal guy that they're fighting, hires a bunch of assassins to beat the League, and Battle Beast is one of them. And Battle Beast nearly kills Mark. He nearly kills Beast Girl. He nearly kills the robot. He nearly kills fucking Kate. He literally is standing over Beast Boy or Beast Girl, pounding their face into bone. And the way that he doesn't lose and they don't win, but the way his involvement ends, because all of the other assassins just stand back and watch him fight, and the way his involvement ends is, this fight is beneath me. Killing insects has no honor. And he just fucking bows out.
I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch this episode at least, because I really now that you're mentioning it, it's jogging my memory a little bit, but I still am not picturing him in this scenario.
No, I didn't either. I had to go back You can YouTube it.
Okay.
You can literally go on YouTube and you could find the 5-minute fight scene that he has.
Yeah, that's all I need.
Like Battle Beast Invincible Season 1. But yeah, no, I had no idea until Walter told me. And I felt like shit. I was like, wow, I watch these things. I'm supposed to catch these things. He was like, it's okay. You had no idea who he was. And they don't mention him by name.
Well,
he's just there and it's him.
Yeah, I think in our defense. And also we watched this how many years ago now? It's been a couple of years ago now.
Oh yeah, no.
This wasn't last year or something like that. It's been a couple of years now. So I think in our defense, it's been a minute. And again, for us who were the uninitiated going into it, right? That was one of the shows neither one of us read prior. I think it's okay. We didn't cheat. We didn't crib note off anyone. We went into it. So I think that's fair.
Right.
But very cool though, because that's like when we've read shit and we know about some of the stuff and we're getting into, we're the ones who are like, oh shit, that's this guy and he's going to be super important and stuff like that. And like, when I watch the stuff with Angie, like I try not to do that because again, I always try to keep in mind she does not have any pre knowledge of some of this comic book stuff. So I want her to experience it the way she experienced it. And then afterwards, she usually will say, all right, I have questions. Here they are. And then I will enlighten her when I can. And hey, it's vice versa with Harry Potter. I mean, or stuff like that, or shit she's done. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We got to share our fandoms like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like her with like Hunger Games and shit.
I asked Walter one question as a follow-up. And I said, just a yes or no. Don't give me any details because I don't like spoilers. He loves spoilers. He doesn't give a shit. He'll fucking spoil everything for himself. He doesn't care. I care. Okay. So I was like, does Battle Beast serve a purpose in the upcoming war in the Viltrumites? Is he there?
Uh-huh.
He said yes.
Okay.
Battle Beast
nice.
Baby. Battle Beast.
I think he's gonna have a pretty big role in that, to be honest with you. Because they've been kind of building him up.
I think so too.
Yeah, so I think just from that perspective.
Apparently since season 1. Jesus Christ. Like, Ed, when you watch this fight scene, what Mark and the rest of them walk away looking like, I mean, Jesus Christ, bad. I mean, he should have killed 3 of them.
Listen, they're playing the long game. And well, apparently.
Yeah, very well. Very well.
All right, so then I guess let's go ahead and jump into it, shall we? We will be opening with Daredevil, which is kind of rare because that's the only show that we're covering right now until next week, and then we get The Last of Us back, and then we have multiple shows once again. So,
which I have started playing the second game. I will not be finished with it by the time we start. But I will try to be an episode ahead of the show as I play along and we watch it.
See, and then there will be another situation. No, I think you got to give yourself more credit, dude. Like there are more times, especially with the video game stuff, that you are more the initiated than I am. I mean, that's maybe more like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. I'm gonna be that guy, but like with
that's true.
What the hell was it? Borderlands. And Fallout.
Oh, Borderlands, yeah.
Yeah, those are stuff I had.
That's true. I do have the video game expertise, and actually, I've been playing Spider-Man 2. I just started that recently, and it's not to go off on a tangent. It's Kraven's last hunt, but Kraven is sicking other villains on Spider-Man and Miles Morales, and you could also be Miles Morales. I've only started it, but it's kind of wild so far.
Wow! Before my PS4 goes completely extinct, I maybe. Well, hold on. That's only a PS5 game, right?
That's
Spider-Man.
That's 2? A PS5. Yeah, that's a PS5.
I can't believe when the day happened when I became the old video game guy, motherfucker. God damn it! It happened out of nowhere. I was not. This is not like something I premeditated. I did.
No, you never can tell. You never can tell. I stay young by teaching high school, getting the hip lingo from the kids, and playing video games. That's how I stay young.
Listen, that is awesome though. I'm like, get off my lawn in the video game world, you know. Back in my day, we used to blow in the cartridges. What's up? You froze.
No, it's like Ed. Have you played this game? Get off my lawn, kid. Get the spider and your man out of my fucking face.
Back in my day, we used to have a game genie. What is this shit?
When I was a boy, we had Game Genie.
Oh, don't get me started. I've caught myself throughout the week, by the way. I've caught myself doing it, especially when I was like really sick and I had the real extra raspy. Oh, Angie heard it.
You can't help it. Look, you got the rasp. You got to use it for something.
Exactly. But regarding Daredevil Born Again,
let's do it.
Much to do. You got to get that extra breathing, and it's got to get in the chest. You got to feel.
You're right. You're right. Part of the impression lands in the breathing.
Yeah, you got to get into it. It's kind of like the Bane thing too. You know, you just got to like feel completely like out of sorts.
What a pasta maker! Oh no, not that Bane. It's a different Bane.
No, my Bane is more of the Tom Hardy Bane, I think, and then it goes off on a tangent into God knows what. I mean, who knows? It goes to weird places. Same thing with like my Kingpin. It's gone to some bizarre places. I've talked about tacos and shit like that, like in the house. It's whatever.
Like, real quick, I watched There Will Be Blood again over the week. And so, of course, Daniel Plainview's voice has been in my brain. And my son decides he wants me to read the Lorax. And for some reason, it made sense to me to read it in Daniel Plainview's voice. So I'm like, the Lorax. So I get it.
Yeah, just once the voice gets stuck in your head, you just kind of like can't help it. You just start doing it.
You can't.
But ironically, though, let's go back to episode 5, which was a completely Kingpinless episode. When we had the episode with the heist, the St. Paddy's Day heist, as I'm going to refer to it as. And it dropped like around St. Paddy's Day. I mean, the timing for this was like pretty fucking spot on. But yeah, so basically the episode opens up on St. Paddy's Day. And then we get Matt Murdock there in a bank, and he meets Yusuf Khan. For those unaware, that is Miss Marvel's dad. And it is so wonderful. It was great. It was so wonderful to see this character because I love him. And then he pulls out a Funko Pop of Miss Marvel, like the local
that's so funny
hero from Jersey City. And I just loved everything about that whole thing. Like that, the inclusion of it, the Funko Pop, the fact that Matt Murdock's never heard of Miss Marvel, which I thought was actually really funny. And yeah, they hit it off pretty easily and pretty awesome stuff. We also get a guy in the bank who, in 2 different parts of this episode, is an older guy who is a big Rangers fan, and as am I, right? If anyone knows, like I'm sports and like movies and comic book shit is my jam. But I love the fact that the writers of this show really knew their shit regarding the Rangers because he's talking about a Rangers-Islanders game, and he referenced Potvin sucks. And if you're not aware of what Potvin, Jason, are you aware of Potvin sucks or not really? Do you have no idea?
No idea. I know you can drop some knowledge on me.
All right, so not to get into it too far in the weeds of Rangers stuff because I don't want to I'll go off on a tangent. But basically, Potvin sucks is a chant that gets started in every single Rangers game by the fans with a whistle. When they go, dun, 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 and the crowd goes, Potvin sucks. This is a reference from 1979, a playoff series where a player on the Islanders named Dennis Potvin went ahead and laid down what Rangers fans feel was a dirty hit on one of ours and basically took him out for the series. That chant started that night and has ironically been going. Dennis Potvin has been retired for a very long time. Okay, he's been retired since probably the late 80s or something like that. But the chant ironically continues to this day, and it doesn't matter if they're playing the Islanders or not. It's taken on a life of its own. So I find it hilarious that this chant is still going on to this day. But that's it. That's a Rangers like inside baseball type thing.
That's hysterical. And I wonder if Potvin is like, man, I hate that my name is living in infamy, or if he's like, yeah, man, I'm gonna live forever in the annals of hockey history.
So ironically, he seems to have like taken to it and kind of just
awesome.
rolls with it, even to the fact that I was at a Rangers Islanders game in UBS Arena in Long Island, and that night they were selling for charity Potvin socks. And they went with it. So as much as it pisses Islanders fans off, because Dennis Potvin's a Hall of Fame player, right? So obviously, all jokes aside, he does not obviously suck. But that's part of the irony of this entire fucking chant that goes on. Like, I literally put it this way, and I should have got this earlier. I had Burr make me this. So it's a Rangers logo with a pot in Potvin sucks. Okay,
that's really funny.
Exactly. So Burr thankfully made that for me, and I brought that as like a rally towel to Rangers Islanders games. And again, it's taken on a life of its own. So again, if those who maybe that reference went completely over your head, fair enough. Rangers fans who have watched this, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Rangers fans who have watched this, paused it and probably laughed their asses off, and were like, they felt seen in that situation.
That's awesome, and it also grounds Matt Murdock in New York. He is such a New Yorker, you know?
Yeah.
Like the same as Peter Parker is such a Queens boy. He's such a New Yorker that it's great to see these things pop up.
Yeah, I adored the fact that was there. I even heard like John Campea talking about this. He's another YouTube podcaster. When talking about it, he had no idea. But he watches hockey and stuff, but he didn't know about that because he's not a Rangers fan. He's a Canadian guy who cheers for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So he was like, wait, are they talking about former Islander Dennis Potvin? And I laughed my ass off because I'm just like, that's great. That, you know, there are probably a lot of people who, unless you're a Rangers fan or Islanders fan or something like that, you don't know. It even happens at road arenas where the Rangers play. Like somebody will start whistling it and the crowd knows to chant Potvin sucks. It's a wild thing.
That's great.
And I even yell it out at different sporting events when I hear that queued up. You know, dun, 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 dun. And you gotta,
because you know.
But I know, but it's funny because when I do that like Yankees games and stuff, other Rangers fans who are present, they turn around and are like, yeah, that's right. It's great. It's just its own goofy, stupid thing. But having said that, though, and I thought this was also something that popped in my head. So why Matt Murdock is in the bank with Yusuf Khan, though, he's there to get a bank loan. And as Ron Burgundy had referenced, Daredevil was denied a bank loan. For those, Anchorman, the Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
Yeah.
That popped in my head, and I also was cracking up about that. So this whole scene was probably like the funniest thing in the world to me. So he gets denied the bank loan, and it's like, all right, he's got to move on with himself. And then Luca, apparently, who has been causing a lot of shit throughout this season in the background, sent these Irish bank robbers in to rob the bank and to steal this diamond that is there in a safety deposit box. So Matt is leaving, overhears this shit going on while he's on the phone. He's like, all right, I got to get my ass back in there. He finds a way back in there, plays, unknowing blind guy, and gets his way
I
back
love that. I love that, where he's like a block and a half away, and he hears shit, and he's like, I got to go back. And then he goes back in there, and he's like, oh, I'm just coming here for a deposit. I'm such a defenseless blind guy.
Yeah, and they all bind it like hook, line, and sinker. He starts talking to them about, from his lawyer perspective, like, listen, if you guys actually, because they're making threats and shit, and if you're going to kill anybody, you're going to go look at 25 to life. And it pisses off the bank robbers. They start having an issue with him. He kind of is like in their crosshairs now. And then the police show up. There's a negotiation that's going on, and he has a chance to get out and pushes back and lets this woman hear who's scared, and her husband, and he swaps himself for the husband, because they were going to try to get him out of there because he was pissing them off so much.
Yeah.
They were like, just get out of here, and he found his way.
And the way he keeps himself in there is just he tells his story.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I'm Irish, Murdoch, I'm blind, but he
an orphan.
Truth,
no, he's telling you everything.
Orphan. Yeah, and they're just like, I a blind fucking orphan. Yeah, all right, we'll keep him around, which I love.
That was good, dude. You just did the I mean, at least from my ears, you did the good Irish accent there, kind of like the woman, the negotiator on the phone. That was good. That was good stuff.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
That was good. So he basically had multiple opportunities to leave and make sure he's back in there, because he knows he's hatching up a plan to take these dudes down. And Matt advises Yusuf to stall because the bank manager is not there who can open up the safe, and he is the assistant bank manager, but he cannot, and he knows he cannot. So he was like, just once they take you down there, stall all you can, give the cops time, yada yada. He's got, Matt's over there strategically planning out his entire fucking thing. And he goes and he ends up faking the chance that he has to go to the bathroom. So one of the bank robbers who's got a red mask, of course. And then as soon as that happened, I'm like, I know where this is going.
Yep.
So he takes him downstairs, beats the living piss out of this dude, ninja style, real quiet, even catches a gun as it's falling, a shotgun.
That was because he
badass
was on the stairs. Oh, it was so good. And it was so satisfying to watch Matt Murdock beat the shit out of these guys one at a time, because you knew it was going to happen. Like, every time he got one of them alone, you knew it was going to happen. It was still satisfying because those guys were dickheads.
Oh, yeah, no, they were like total douches to him and stuff like that. And especially they were like picking on the blind thing and stuff like that too. And they were assholes. But while Yusuf's there trying to be brought to the safe, and he's trying to, like, one of the guys is telling him to open up the safe, Matt takes down this guy and then shows up, takes out that guy that's there, saves Yusuf, and goes and does his thing and how to open up the safe to get the diamond out. And it's pretty wild how he listens to the clicking and stuff like that. And with his senses, he can break the whole thing down.
Was crazy. I forget, like, how powerful Daredevil is.
Yeah.
Like, because he's street level powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, he's not going toe to toe with Thanos. That's not going to happen.
No.
But, like, street level, like, he's a blind guy who's really blind, but can still traverse a sighted world and kick the shit of anyone. But he's really blind, so you don't know that ever until you get the shit kicked out of you. His senses are so heightened, he can hear 2 blocks away that something's getting robbed. And he can pop a safe in a bank just by listening. Like, I forget that he is this powerful.
Yeah, his particular set of skills, like what he said, are pretty fucking deadly. We'll put it that way. So he goes ahead and he gets the diamond and stuff like that, but he also manages to swap it out with this candy on Yusuf's desk that looks exactly like it. And they referenced that earlier in the episode, and he had some on him. Does the swipe, goes to offer it back to the head guy, and as a distraction. And then while the cops are going ahead and blowing him, they blow the door open. Matt's listening to him, so he times it perfectly. Again, his senses, knowing that he's doing all of this, and causes the cops to get in. It allows them to get in. There's some scuffle right there, and then one of the head guy though manages to find his way out because apparently he's got a cop uniform on, and sneaks out the front door, kind of like Inside Man style. In a way, like if you've seen the Spike Lee movie, which I do love that movie, he kind of goes out the front door like that. Matt sees this. Matt's not having this shit, and he goes out his own way, and he plays blind guy again, helpless blind guy, gets out the front door, but then catches him in the alley, throws on that red mask from the guy he took down. Yeah, Jason, the way he beat this fucking guy down and snaps his leg. I was going to
say, he snaps his leg.
Yeah, just like his leg's extended and he just, bam. Yeah, oh my God.
Like, I remember when Disney promised that this would not be Disneyfied, that this would be R-rated. They're delivering on that promise. You have to give them that, if nothing else.
Oh, for sure. No, they have definitely upped the ante on the violence. That has definitely happened.
Yeah, I think the violence is. I think this is more violent than the other 3 seasons.
Yeah, in the details, like this shit. It's like cringy at times. If you're like little, woozy. Yeah. So obviously Matt successfully foils the bank robbery and then has a conversation with Yusuf at the end. They have this thing and then gets offered to come have dinner with his family and the famous Kamala, as he says at the end of it. And it seems like I have a feeling they will pay that off one day. But I thought it was also smart too, where they acknowledge Miss Marvel, but Yusuf in their initial conversation does mention that she's away in California, which was smart because you have to make sure that, because if you got to imagine if Kamala found out her father's bank was being held up, she's crossing that fucking river and she'd show up. So you got to make sure you dot the I's and cross the T's of why she's not there.
Yep. Absolutely. And you know what I really liked about this episode too? I had texted you and I was like, I mistakenly said it was a filler episode, and then I corrected myself. I was like, it felt like a filler episode, though it wasn't, because the whole bank heist, like I'm stuck inside and I'm the good guy who's got to beat the bad guys. I literally just watched an episode of Castle because I'm rewatching Castle with Nathan Fillion, where that happens. Like that happens in so many shows, right? But this plays it very differently. Honestly, none of them have a bone being broken in such a violent manner. But also what I like about it is I completely expected Yusuf Khan to be like, oh, okay, well, I'll give you the loan. You've saved the bank. Because that is the way the trope works. But he actually says, I still can't give you the loan, but I can give you dinner. And I really dug that. Because that was kind of realistic. Like, yeah, you did save my ass, and I really like you, but I still can't give you this loan because it's not mine to give. I work for a fucking heartless, soulless bank.
And also, by the way, I don't want to forget, is that when Matt does open up the safe, he hits Yusuf with the new Matt Murdock line because he's like, what kind of lawyer are you? A really good one.
Yep.
So this is the second time we get that now. Spider-Man. I love that line, by the way. Just keep that as his catchphrase.
It's a great line, and it really does explain what kind of lawyer he is. A really fucking good one.
Yeah, with a particular set of skills, apparently.
That's right. For fuck's sake, you've taken me, daughter.
So I also I do want to briefly talk about like the filler part because I've seen that online before we talked and stuff. And my only pushback against is this. I do think that this episode was also Matt unofficially returning as Daredevil. Like he does mask up and take down some criminals and stuff. And I think it was part of his motivation to where he gets to in episode 6 when he does, we do get him back in full gear. Yeah, exactly. And also, I stand by. They're going to pay off a Daredevil Miss Marvel team up somewhere along the line. I do think we're going to get something like that.
I agree. But even just for the Daredevil arc, just parroting what you're saying, he wasn't stuck in the bank. He made the conscious choice 2 blocks away to go back. And that's the character beat that we need to pay attention to. Because that's the moment where he decides, I can't help who I am. And I'm not going to put the Daredevil mask on. I'm going to go in there as Matt Murdock and stumble around and pretend to be blind, or be blind, pretend to be helpless. But I'm not going to let the bad guys win. And I think you're right. That's the first step in the process of him putting on the mask, because this is a process. This whole season's a dual character study of him and Wilson Fisk. And everything that they do, every choice that they make, no matter if it seems insignificant or filler or not, is a step toward the character they are and they are becoming.
Yeah, I fully agree. No, that was well put. But I also want to see this. I want to see this dinner and this team up one day. Really want to see it.
Oh. I want to see it. Is he going to bring a date? Will they set him up on a date? Because that's part of it. How's he getting laid out of this? That's part of the Matt Murdock experience, and it's not Kamala. It's not Kamala because she's a kid.
Yeah,
but they must have an older something kicking around, an aunt or something.
The older brother's got like a friend or something like that.
Something like that.
All right. So, I mean, that basically moves us on to episode 6, where right off the bat, there was something that we got. Like right off the bat is the BB report is shown like in the first couple of minutes. And there's footage of a vigilante with a sword, and he is called swordsman, who were introduced to in Hawkeye. Yeah, like the
we do know
stepfather with the fencing. So, and we also see him without his mask later on in the episode. So I thought that was really cool. Like these 2 episodes were like, we're going to further ingrain this, these universes together and bring Matt Murdock into the fold and Kingpin further into the fold of the MCU.
And this seemed so seamless. Like Yusuf Khan did not seem as seamless because it's Yusuf Khan. That guy's a treasure. It's Kamala Khan is her own thing. This was seamless because, well, we've seen him in Hawkeye, and we've seen Echo in Hawkeye, and we've seen Kingpin in Echo. So, like, to use the Spider-Man analogy, the webs have been strewn. It's not just like, bang, we're in the MCU. It's like, no, we've kind of been taking some time to set this up. Yeah, we threw you Yusuf Khan because we do want to put those crazy kids together at some point. But now let's look at the intricacies of how we're building him into the MCU, and that I really appreciated.
Yeah, this dude is an active vigilante in New York City, and he should be like acknowledged in there, who was in another Disney Plus show. So it makes perfect sense. Now, I don't know if I mentioned it last week, but there were tidbits that were kind of let out online recently that, like Tom Holland's Spider-Man contractually cannot appear in this show. Like
really,
literally not allowed. So apparently, a part of the deal, right, between Sony and Marvel for this rights, which drives me fucking batshit crazy that this still is like a thing, but apparently part of the deal was never agreed upon that Spider-Man is to appear in TV shows. He can appear in movies only. And we also found out, by the way, from Vincent D'Onofrio himself, that Kingpin is not allowed to appear in films due to some rights bullshit.
Yeah.
Which
how is
rushes,
that? Who owns Kingpin?
That's the thing I don't know. I don't know how or why that part's the thing. That part is I don't fully understand. My guess is it has to do with Sony, because Kingpin was probably part of the Sony Spider-Man package as well. Is going to be my guess.
Oh fuck yeah.
Right, because the Fox thing is they own Fox, so Disney owns Fox, so none of that matters. Like that's long gone and everything, and that's what made the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie. So it has to be part of the Spider-Man Sony thing that they're tied up. But Marvel is allowed to produce Spider-Man animated shows that cannot run longer than 22 minutes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's weird, dude.
Wow.
It's weird.
I love how persnickety Sony is with a franchise they can't themselves make lucrative.
But Jason, the crazy thing is, and I think it was John Campion that did a breakdown of this. As much as we dislike the Spider-Man: The Spider-Verse movies, as a package, as a total, it's profitable for Sony still, mainly because of the Venom movies and because of the.
I was going to say, how much of that is Venom?
Oh, it's both of those two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's both of those two.
But in all fairness, the animated Spider-Man movies are good, so I'll tip of the hat to that.
Yeah,
because we're talking into the Spider-Verse, and yeah. So, but to be so persnickety about it, like it's one of those things where I would say, like, okay, I look because they make the money on the Spider-Verse movies, and that's actually what they're really good at. I get it. Look, only 22-minute episodes. Fine. Okay, that's fair. Cartoons. I'm surprised they're even letting them do that. I would be okay with them not because of how successful the Spider-Verse stuff is. But to be like, well, I'm sorry, but Spider-Man cannot appear in a television show, only movies. It's like, guys, you can't make a live-action Spider-Man movie to save your fucking soul. So why not just say, hey, we'll take a bigger cut and do whatever the fuck you want?
Well, remember though, they do have their Spider-Man Noir show in production. We're getting a Spider-Man live action show from them, which is going to be on Amazon.
We'll see how it is.
We'll see how it is. I agree. I mean, we
both
agreed that we're kind of excited for it because Nick Cage is doing it. But
yep, I'm interested.
I mean, yeah, agreed. I'm not like, oh, this is going to be awesome. No, you have my attention. Obviously, because we will be covering it here. But yeah, their track record of live action as of late has been highly suspect.
Yeah,
to put it mildly.
And I do want to point out that Spider-Man War and Spider-Man are two very different things.
Very different.
Like, it's not as if Tom Holland's Spider-Man showed up in Daredevil, I would go, I don't need to watch Spider-Man Noir. I mean, it's literally a completely different thing. It's Spider-Man in name and theme only.
It's dumb, dude. It's dumb. They should be like, hey, we have the shared thing. He has X amount of appearances, right, that he's allowed to make with his deal. If you guys want to use it on a TV show, then knock yourselves out. Because guess what? Once he runs out, we got to come back and we got to reach another deal. So,
right.
I don't know. It's dumb. But back to episode 6 now, because that was, I did want to squeeze in these nuggets anyway at some point. We catch up with Matt, who is reading from Foggy's mask card in a pretty sad scene. And he's reflecting back on the events that we've seen throughout episode Daredevil Born Again. And at the same time, though, like, we get Wilson Fisk, who both of them are interestingly in their current lives, but are being pulled back by their old lives that they're trying to kind of outrun. And both of them have been trying to, or maybe are doing the suppressing, I would say, which is why I found it really fascinating that the both of them cut. So we get Matt, who is there, like, trying to live their best life. He's talking to Heather. She's asking questions about some book she's going to write and asks about his experience with vigilantes, and even suggests that maybe she wants to get an interview with one. And there's a laughing thing where he's like, you want me to, like, put you in connection with Frank Castle? Like, you want to interview the Punisher? Like, this is what the hell you want. Especially following up on a couple episodes ago where we saw where that relationship is like these days.
Yeah. But she also does say, like, but Daredevil, like, that's brought up.
No, she does. She does say that. And he kind of brushes it off.
And I want to ask you this, Ed, because at that moment, the hairs on my hair.
Your spider senses?
On my head went up. My spidey senses were tingling. And I went, is she just dating him because she wants to get close to Daredevil? Is this for her research?
Wow. That would be a twist. I don't think so based on what we see in episode 7, but yeah, no, that would have been
that would have been
a twist I didn't see
coming. It did make me think.
I agree. But then on Wilson Fisk's part, he's getting briefed on a bunch of shit that's going on as the mayor, and this dude is not having it. Like, you could tell he's, like, zoning out. He's like, he even cracks up laughing at one point. Like, this dude is completely over some of the bullshit that goes with being a politician. You could tell.
It's almost as if criminal businessmen would not make good politicians.
It's true.
I mean, just talking about this show as well. I'm just talking about the Kingpin here.
Absolutely. I fully agree with you on that. Definitely referring to Wilson Fisk only.
Yeah, who's a felon and did time,
It's true. Yeah.
and not a very good mayor.
Yeah. One would think that would be something fairly common knowledge, but unfortunately not. So
But
because
here we are.
people voted for Wilson Fisk.
They
They not?
did. They came out in
Yes.
droves. They really believed in Wilson Fisk.
I did. They thought
wanted
he
to
was
make
gonna...
New York.
Exactly. This is true. They were trying to do that. But he is definitely done with the entire minutia of being the mayor. You could just see it, and especially when he like cracks up because he's being briefed on a bunch of stuff here. But the thing that gets his attention though is when one of his like right hand people come in and they have somebody from DSNY who was found trying to power wash some art off of some murals off buildings, and he divulges the information though, and it gets Fisk's attention when he finds out that it's fucking blood and it's in an epoxy, and that there's a serial killer on the loose who has fucking bodied 60 people at this point, and that opens up a completely other thing from moving on.
Yeah, and so in the comics, Muse has superpowers because it's Muse, right? We know where it's going. Anyone who's listening to us knows what it's going.
Exactly.
So Muse has superpowers in the comic because he doesn't in this.
From what I understand, he is powered in the comics, and he is maybe an Inhuman, maybe not an Inhuman, which they're not going to use that word in the MCU anytime soon. But no, he's not powered in this show. But I'm going to be honest, for the sake of the show and the tone of this show, I don't completely mind that he's not powered, that he's just crazy.
I think it's a great choice.
Yeah.
I think it's the best choice. Like, I don't think he should be powered in this show. I think it's actually the way they handle his character is really, really good. I was just curious because I don't know this character at all. I stopped reading comics but when he came around. And I remember Rick saying that he had superpowers, and that's why I was like, did he had? Because I couldn't imagine it because he's so good just as a street level serial, not a street level. God, puts Jeffrey Dahmer to shame.
Yeah, no, he's pretty serious. But then Angela goes to Matt, and little Angela, Hector Ayala's niece, goes to Matt with information regarding what her uncle was looking into at his firm, and she leaves that meeting pissed. She's like, listen, because Matt's trying to explain to him like it's not how it works. You can't just come to me and then I just jump on an investigation type thing and that's it. And she's like, kind of like basically sometimes you got to do shit yourself, and that's that, and that will pay off later on. And then there's basically during Muse goes ahead and grabs two more people that he's doing his thing in the street. Two girls go up to him and they're like, "Oh, you're Muse, God, like this." He turns around and fucking nabs both of them. Apparently, that scene is straight out of the comics, though. Like panel for panel is right out of the comics, which I thought was pretty cool.
I hated that scene not because it was bad, because it was so good. Like, because they're just like, "Oh, you're Muse, you're the artist, and it's like, nah, you're my fucking victims now." And it's like, oh,
broad daylight basically too.
Exactly.
Yeah. But then we get this montage where Fisk is meeting with wealthy donors, and he's talking to Vanessa at the same time. And the details that were in this, and this is, you embarrassed me in front of Vanessa. But he's meeting with these wealthy donors because that's what politicians got to do. And during their conversation, she's explaining that and stuff like that. And he's meeting with swordsmen, and he's meeting with all these other people who are being pricks and stuff. And he's explaining that the way he was taught is you find out what somebody wants and you fucking leverage that shit, to get them to do whatever the hell it is you want to do. And it doesn't quite work like that everywhere. And even there's a conversation between him and Swordsman directly where he basically just tells him, like, dude, if you start fucking around, we'll cut you off. We'll get you out of Gracie Mansion in 2 seconds, just like that. And it's like, hey, are you threatening me? And he's like, no, it's not a threat. Just letting you know what's up. Like, this is how it works. And you can see that Fisk in his mind. He's just very much thinking, like, I want to fucking murder you right now. Like, I want to kingpin this shit and do it my way. But I'm trying to play nice with you motherfuckers.
But it adds to it. It's every fucking domino falls, like, because he wants, and we see it. We see it at the end. I think it's the end of this episode, right?
Oh, yes.
We see what he wants to do.
Yes.
And we see how he wants to play it. And that's the interesting thing, is like, this show lets us see how he believes he should play it as Wilson Fisk, the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's given us this dark back room to see how he wants to play it as the Kingpin.
Oh, sure. He sure does have a way he wants to play it.
Oh, yeah.
And the other thing here, though, is that interesting is that Vanessa puts this coat on him where she's helping him get dressed. And the coat doesn't fit. And he's like, but I think that was very symbolic in what we're talking about right now. Like, this mayor coat, this mayor outfit doesn't fit. I'm too big for it. Because we've also seen how he's eating when he's having his solo dinners, his Kingpin solo dinners.
Oh, God, yeah.
He's getting bigger. He's putting on weight. He's transforming physically into the Kingpin again.
Yes. He is, yeah, because we see him, like, as the mayor, and this is another symbolic thing, right? He's eating, like, salad, and he's eating better. And then he goes to the dark place where he does things the Kingpin way, which we'll get to. And he's like, it's a fucking side of cow. I'm eating a whole cow here. It's a steak.
Yeah, exactly. He's stuffing his fucking face. Like, he's making it all back. But I love the suit thing and the idea of getting a new wardrobe thing as a metaphor for what's going on here. I thought that was really genius in the writing there.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So Cherry informs Matt of some details on Muse. He's got details on Muse. He's got Angela asking him. So everyone's pushing him essentially unknowingly, like, he's also bursting at the seams to put on his real suit again as well, basically. Yep. Because even when Cherry tells him this, he's like, you got to let this one go, Matt. You got to let the authorities do it. But there's a serial killer on the loose who's murdered fucking 60 people.
And the authorities have done shit.
Exactly. And Sherry's also got to know, even though he's sharing information, you're giving this to a guy who fucking is a sideline vigilante. You're like almost like fueling him right now to go this way. But on the other side of this, though, Wilson Fisk begins to form his anti-vigilante task force. Right? Because he puts them together. He gets a bunch of cops that have had issues and stuff, or like maybe go over the line a lot. One of them being the officer that we've seen Matt Murdock kick the shit out of previously. And also Cole North, who's a character from Daredevil comics, is also introduced. And he gives his backstory there. And he starts passing them off. Kingpin decides he's going to have this unit directly report to him and hands them all these vests, which I can guarantee you by some point, those vests are going to have Punisher skulls on it at some point. There is no chance that's not happening.
Yep.
But Angela goes ahead and she goes and takes up the information she has. She goes into the sewers looking for Muse, trying to finish White Tiger's work, and gets herself captured, which you pretty much saw that was definitely going to go down.
Yep.
Her mom calls Matt looking for her daughter, and Matt literally picks up the phone, is calling 911, and as soon as they answer, he pauses and is like, you know something? Hangs up and literally says, which is one of the most badass moments of Matt Murdock, fuck it. And he goes and he runs up to the roof, suits up, and we see him fucking daredeviling all jumping off the roof, screaming, and he's on his way to go take this guy down.
Great moment. Fucking great moment. And a great moment when he finds him, too.
Oh, yeah. So there we get also, like, as in the beginning of the episode, we get the end of the episode, the dual cuts between Matt and Wilson Fisk. In there, Matt's in his Daredevil costume. His part of this, he finds Muse and finds his whole lair where he's got Angela strung up and he's injecting her, trying to draw her blood out. And Matt breaks into this thing and beats the fucking piss out of Muse. Kicks the shit out of him. Okay? Rolls in, hits him with the billy club right in the fucking head, and goes to town on him. He is letting loose on this dude. And he has him strung up with the billy club at one point. And I thought he was going to keep going. I'm going to be honest. And he was going to kill him.
I thought so.
Okay, so I wasn't the only one.
I thought so too. And I think he might have, except he sees that he starts to hear that the girl, the heartbeat is getting slow because she's still got this blood being drained. So I actually think he intended to. I think he was going to. And the only reason he doesn't, and this is the choice, right? This is the devil or angel on the shoulder choice. Do I kill the murderer or do I save the victim? And because Daredevil is a good guy, this is why he does this. He chooses to save the victim. But if there was no victim to save, he would have fucking outright murdered this guy.
I fully agree with you on all of that. There is no way. That's why they had him during the fight. Kind of like in episode 1 when he fights Bullseye, he hears the heartbeat, but he hears Angela's heartbeat this time. And you're right. I think there was a lot of reflection back to his fight with Bullseye and how he was hearing Foggy's heartbeat. And he was like, I can save her. I'm going to choose to go that route and save her. And Muse gets away. No, he couldn't. It was already too late during the entire fight. But he could save Angela, and he chooses to, and he does so. And at the same time, cutting back and forth, we catch up with Wilson Fisk going down these dark stairs. And we find out he goes to Adam. Poor Adam in his fucking cell. And Wilson Fisk is carrying an axe to this man. So initially you might think, all right, he's going to go ahead and hack this guy up, and that's going to be the end of it. He's going to let out all his frustration between meeting with the wealthy, dealing with the bullshit from the NYPD and all the other stuff that he's getting. You know, like he's getting hit from all angles of frustration. He's going to just take it out on this guy. But he does in an interesting way because he tells Adam, gives him a brief little speech about, and this is what I'm going to say. I thought there was he doesn't say it. He says, when I was smaller, when I was this. Come on. Writers, where were you on this?
Come on. We needed a, when I was a boy.
When I was a boy, we used to go ahead and fight. Constantly. We would fight. So he goes ahead and gives Adam the axe as a weapon to defend himself because he knows he can beat the fucking shit out of this guy and beats the shit out of him with the axe just to give him a fighting chance. And it's brutal.
And that's the thing. He doesn't want to feel like he's just beating a helpless guy. He gives him the fighting chance, and then he beats the living shit out of him. And I'm going to tell you, if Wilson Fisk ever has me in a cage because I was stupid enough to sleep with his wife, and he throws me an axe and says, "Come on and fight me," I'm putting that axe down and sitting back in the bed and saying, "No, sir, please lock the door."
I'm done. I'm good to go for tonight. It's okay. Thank you.
I'm never getting out, Mr. Fisk. That's okay. I've accepted that now.
But yeah, he kicks the shit out of him and then drags him and puts him back in his cell when he's done. Like he was a punching bag for him to just rail frustration out on him. That's basically what he did to him. And then cut back where the episode ends, and it's back to Matt rescuing Angela. And she's like, she's all woozy and stuff. She's like, Daredevil. And I thought it was very symbolic where he's like, yes, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here. Like basically just announcing I'm back. I'm fucking back. So I thought that was a pretty awesome way for them to end that episode. Yeah, and then the most recent one, episode 7, uh, in the opening scene we get where Wilson Fisk learns of some briefing that's there, and he finds out that Muse was taken down because he knows Muse and he's 60 anti-vigilante task force basically on Muse, and that's his initial use for them. But then he finds out that a young girl was saved from Muse, and by reportedly Daredevil. And his look on his face when he fucking learns that he's staring out that window is that's the moment I fucked up. That's the way I took it. Like, he was fucking furious. He goes throughout this episode desperately trying to get anyone to officially confirm that Daredevil was there. He's asking the cops. He's asking anyone he can. Until he gets,
because that's his loose end.
Yep.
Like Daredevil knows who he is. He knows who Daredevil is. If Daredevil's not Daredevil, if he's just Matt Murdock, Fisk doesn't give a shit. He's no threat as Matt Murdock to him. The law is no threat to the Kingpin mayor.
Mm-hmm.
What is a threat is when the law puts on the vigilante mask and goes rogue. And that's what I find so interesting about that moment.
Yeah, I agree. And it also harkens back to their conversation in the diner. Because he tells Fisk that, he's done. And they're both, in that episode, in that conversation, they both kind of tell each other they're both done. But obviously we're learning as the season goes on. No, not so much.
Neither of them are.
No.
They can't. This is who they are.
Exactly. They can't escape it. It is what it is. It's like Thanos. It's inevitable. It's it.
Right.
Like, you just are. So we get that scene also where Matt meets up with Heather in his apartment, and he's showering, and there's blood and stuff going on and stuff because he just came back from his fight with Muse and stuff. So, Daredevil doesn't have this healing ability. He's going to go ahead and be there. But she comes in the shower, checking on him, and starts questioning the scars. And then I think he honestly did it to kind of inadvertently throw her off the scent where they... No?
It
is. Absolutely. Like Matt, again, of course. But then they have a conversation right after that about the scars, which I thought this was really interesting. That he goes ahead and he's like, he starts talking about like making excuses. He went for a walk. He bumps into things. That's part of his reality, being blind and stuff like that. But eventually draws back to like, he kind of feels like this whole life he's living right now is kind of fake in ways. He says it out loud to her.
Yeah.
And even says, not you. Like, his relationship with Heather is real. But like the whole facade, no Karen, Foggy's gone. He's not Daredevil. Like, this is not who I am. Says it out loud. And he obviously doesn't reveal that he's Daredevil to her. But she also pushes back and says, Matt, you've been suppressing all this trauma for so many years. You don't even realize, what is like damaging to your current situation and what's not. And I thought that was an interesting assessment by her as well. Like, she's calling out really what it is. So they're both right in this. They're both being honest and candid, but still not fully saying out loud, what it is. Like, because again, she doesn't know he's Daredevil on that, especially suiting up again. So I thought that was
yeah, cool. No, I agree with that. And I also think it's cool meta commentary. Like, I don't feel like myself without, Foggy or Karen, because it's like the show's different, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I think on that level too, it's like it's a character thing, but it's also meta commentary. And I like that she's a psychiatrist and she's able to put it in, the lens of trauma, because he is like, his whole thing is trauma. He lost his father. He lost his state. At this point, he's lost his best friend. Like, he's had so much trauma from such an early age that what she says is a good point. Like you don't know where you end and you begin and the trauma ends, and vice versa. And it's an interesting thing to bring up in this character.
Yeah, and within a lot of superheroes, a lot of vigilantes and stuff like that, and a lot of Marvel characters, especially, and DC characters as well. Like they're dealing with a lot of shit. Like if Heather can go ahead and like analyze all of them, she would be finding out a lot of shit regarding this. Especially MCU Thor. I mean, Jesus.
Oh, he needs his own fucking he needs a whole show that's just him in the psychiatrist's office. But it's kind of like what Watchmen does, right? Like we'll get to it when we get to Watchmen in a couple weeks. But Watchmen's whole thing is, well, what would real superheroes look like? What kind of people would this attract? And this is kind of doing that, like not in a dark way where like Watchmen does, where it would attract rapists and sociopaths.
Yeah.
But in a way that no, it would attract people who are really damaged from an early age, who are trying to put something right in their own life. Like that's Daredevil, that's Batman, that's so many superheroes.
Yeah. Spider-Man also, like plenty.
Spider-Man, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like Spider-Man, for every person Spider-Man saves is him trying to save Uncle Ben. Mm-hmm. Like these are trauma responses, and I think it's really interesting that we have a psychiatrist character who's dating Matt Murdock, who knows him well, without knowing he's Daredevil, kind of puts it in this context.
Yeah. So Cherry finds out about this, that he's suited up now, because now people are finding out that Daredevil's back. He immediately walks out on him. And Matt calls him out, like, dude, when you were a cop, before you retired, you would have fucking called me. And also, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to put this on Cherry, just like I mentioned when talking about last episode. You loaded the gun, Cherry. You fueled him. You knew you had to realize something like this was going to happen.
Yeah. You don't tell a guy like Matt Murdock, a.k.a. Daredevil, all this horrible shit's going down, people are getting hurt, and the serial killers on loose, and then not expect them to do something. That's stupid.
Yeah, because Matt also tells him, dude, I found news in one night. Angela just came to me. You just told me all of this, and I found them just like fucking dead.
Right. Which goes back to like the cops not being able to do anything, right? Because the cops have been looking for this guy for who knows how long. 60 people we're assuming, right?
Yes. No, he said 60. Yeah, he said 60. They do throw it on, yeah.
Yeah. The cops have been looking for him theoretically for 60 victims and got nothing. He found him in one night. So I think that's very interesting too.
Exactly. He's a really good lawyer.
Really good.
So Cherry is kind of like walking out on there, but Fisk also has this conversation with Buck, his right-hand guy. Their conversation is really interesting because Fisk breaks down why he's so agitated that Daredevil is returned, or possibly returned at this point. And we get a whole thing where he explains in detail what Daredevil did to his entire empire. Even though Fisk's version of this is very distorted, because he sees it as he was employing people who were motivated, who were gritty, who were blue collar, and gave them all jobs at the docks and all this other shit. And Matt Murdock, because of his self-righteousness, took them down. I thought that was fascinating to kind of get his version of this.
Very fascinating. He was giving the American people, the New Yorker people, jobs.
Yes.
People who couldn't get jobs before, he was giving them jobs. And Matt Murdock, with his self-righteousness, came and destroyed that. Let's all ignore that everything was built on crime.
Exactly. And he's talking to Buck, who in that conversation, though, we also, and again, I kind of assumed this to begin with. He's like, when I brought you over from your previous life, meaning you were also a criminal, because you can think in certain ways, it was asymmetrical. And that's why I wanted you in this. So we're both kind of like from the criminal underworld, and we're trying to do it this way. And I thought that was also fascinating because Buck is also like, hey, you're the mayor now, dude. You can't flex your muscles of the mayor and your power to settle old scores, right? Like that would be seen as criminal. Would it not? Or abuse of power? Would it not?
It would be, yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Can we honestly envision an America where a politician would be able to abuse their power to just hurt other people just because they oppose them, just because they didn't agree with them? We can't imagine that. That's ridiculous.
That would be so crazy if that was a thing, right? Could you imagine?
It'd be disgusting. Wouldn't want to be a country I wanted to live in.
Yeah, it would be wild, man. That would be some scary shit, wouldn't it? Man. Only Matt Murdock around.
if only there was some blind justice to be doled out.
Yeah. Maybe. But I digress. But Buck is telling him, like, hey, you're the mayor now, dude. You've got a serial killer on your hands. Ipso facto, maybe Daredevil taking him down kind of helps the city, saves some lives. Your NYPD haven't been able to do shit with him. And that's when he goes off on the tangent. Because I think in his mind, he knows that Buck is right. That he should let Matt fucking just take him down and then resume what he's got to do, but he can't let it go. He's like, I feel like Fisk is thinking to himself, this motherfucker told me right to my face he wasn't coming back. And now he's doing this.
Yep. And I also think that it's casting a mirror on himself. Right? Because this motherfucker, who I have known so well, who I have fought, who I told stories of when I was a boy, is told me he was not going to fucking go back to his old ways, and he has. And I told him I wasn't going to go back to my old ways, and I have. And this is a fucking mirror.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he's mad.
Yeah.
It's not that Daredevil is even vigilanting about. If he wanted to crush Daredevil, he could have. He could have just crushed Matt Murdock, and no one would have known he was Daredevil. And he could have clearly just abused his power to crush Matt Murdock. He didn't want to. Mm-hmm. Him and Matt Murdock are mirror images of each other. And when Matt becomes Daredevil, Fisk has the light shined on him that he is doing Kingpin shit. And that's what pisses him off here.
Yeah. He's seeing that, neither one of them, they're both reverting back to who they truly are.
Yep, because that's who they are. And I think that's the thing, is they both want to be different.
Yeah.
And I think in Fisk seeing Matt Murdock going back to Daredevil, he's going, well, that's who he is. He's being who he is. Fuck, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it.
I agree. But also, Angela goes ahead and she's in the hospital bed and gives the details on Muse, where his layers are, everything she remembers, and mentions these drawings that he has there that shows something like horrifying and stuff like that. And in one of them, Matt finds out later on is Heather. Like, once that connection is made. But we also get to see where Luca and Vanessa meet up. And they very underground thing, but they talk about essentially how things were supposedly better with their operation when Vanessa was in charge. And that Fisk is, full of shit. Basically what we're saying, like, this whole mayor thing is a ruse, essentially. And they want to get back to the way things were. And there is a suggestion about taking him out. And Vanessa's like, you asking me for permission or help? And he's like, it's up to you. And we'll get back to that later on. But Muse also shows up in Heather's office for a session. And he sits down, not in full costume, and he starts talking about his childhood, how he was forced into taking Taekwondo, competing, and he hated it. And, all but talks about his coach. And at that same time, there's cut back and forth with one of the detectives, who was also the hostage negotiator in episode 5, dishing out. Fisk is getting informed on who Bastion really is. And he's got this history of the Taekwondo. It's suspected he murdered his coach eventually, but Bastion is going ahead, who is Muse's, given name, And more on that in a second. And he's telling Heather that, his whole childhood was forced into this taekwondo shit, but all he wanted to do was ever be an artist. And that she, through their conversations, has let him become who he truly is, and who the city is seeing him as he really is. And basically, Muse is who he really is. How Daredevil with Matt, and I saw Wilson Fisk with Kingpin.
Mm-hmm.
I also thought that was an interesting way to kind of parallel that as well. Obviously, in a very different way.
It wasn't until that moment that I realized why Muse was a central antagonist up to this point. Because, again, I don't know Muse, and I don't know what's going on. He's a serial killer, whatever. But this moment where he's like, this allowed me to be me. And she even makes a comment, like, when she realizes what's going on, she makes a comment about the mask, and he puts the mask on, and the mask is really him. And, it became so clear, and it was so brilliant. Like, okay, what he's going through is an escalated form of what both our protagonists and antagonists are going through.
Yep.
Except, unlike Fisk and Daredevil, he's not trying to be a better person. He's just trying to be him. Like, Fisk is, I feel, in his own head, trying to be a better man.
Yeah.
Matt wants to be a better man. Muse wants to be more of himself.
Exactly.
And Muse is the one who accepts that you just have to be yourself no matter what it is. And I think the fact that this happens, like, now, it really it's more about, like, what that shines on Kingpin and Daredevil than it is about Muse, especially if we know how this ends.
Yeah. And he, while talking about it, his nose starts bleeding. And he takes it, the blood, he smears it. He starts doing another one of his fucking drawings right in front of her. And she obviously, that's when Heather connects all the dots of what's going on here. And he even says straight out, I know you know now what's going on here. And he so creepily says, I know what you're thinking now too. How quick can I get to the door before? And it's terrifying. That thing. And he goes ahead and knocks her the fuck out. And when she wakes up, he's fully suited up as Muse. And she starts calling him Bastion, referring to him. And he's just like, no, that's not who I am. I'm Muse and stuff like that. Like, don't call me that shit. And everything like that. He says, like, fuck that name, essentially. And while the cops are briefing, they're briefing Fisk on this whole thing, he goes ahead and at the same time, he goes ahead and he sends an anti-vigilante task force, to his psychiatrist's office. So they're on their way. At the same time, Matt goes back to the scene of the crime, the information he got from Angela, and finds the drawing of Heather. When he feels it out, he immediately bolts out of there, and he's trying to go ahead and go save her because he knows that he has to protect her now. But he's going ahead and he plugs her in. He starts fucking drawing her blood. He even writes his name on her fucking arm, Muse, there and stuff like that. So he's long gone at this point.
Yeah.
And Daredevil comes crashing through that window, and they begin to fight. More of like a balanced fight this time, because I think that's also why they were establishing his Taekwondo background, so they can kind of rationalize why he would be able to give a better fight to Matt this time.
Yeah.
But essentially, Matt ends up kicking the shit out of him. And Heather picks up his gun that he had earlier when he was bashing him and stuff like that. And she fucking shoots him in the whole wrestling thing, like in their whole scuffle. And then she passes out. And while this is going on, the cops, the anti-vigilante task force, are making their way up the stairs. So Matt knows, and he hears them coming. He's trying to resuscitate her. He stabilizes her and gets the fuck out of there just before they open up the door. And she ends up in the hospital, and, he ends up saving the day here. But Fisk arrives on the scene with his head guy, and they're going over it. And he confirms absolutely window breaking, witnesses. Daredevil was here. Daredevil actually stopped Muse and everything like that. Now, at this point, I started to wonder if Fisk was going to try to have Daredevil framed for this whole thing, but they don't go that route. I kind of did. I wondered that if they were going to go that, but they don't. He basically says, anti-vigilante task force showed up. You guys took down Muse. You guys saved the day, right? Right? And they go with that story. But then we find out BB, in her report, she has a ton of witnesses and is currently running the story about Daredevil saving the day and stopping Muse. And then, of course, she is propositioned and saying, kill that story, go with fucking Fisk's version of this shit. Like, we can't have that. Mm-hmm. And, you know, she's got even says, like, there's a stick, a big carrot and a big stick that's dangling with you. So either you choose to go with this, or we're going to fucking destroy your entire career.
Yep.
One way or the other. And, and then Heather goes ahead. We catch up with her in the hospital, and she starts talking about Daredevil. Like, she knows Daredevil was there, saved the day and stuff like that and everything. But then she's telling this to Matt Murdock at this point in the hospital bed, you know. And then on the news happens to be playing where the report is that the anti-vigilante task force took down Muse and stuff like that. So that's what the public is going to be hearing. And we have that fully established right now. And I'm guessing it's because BB ends up giving in and has no choice but to change her story. Because they do say that, and they name drop New York One and stuff like that, which I thought was also bravo for the writers, keeping the show very New York. Exactly. And this version is basically what the public's going to know. And then the last scene of episode 7 was, now I'm fascinated to know what your thoughts on this guy. So we get Vanessa texting Luca and saying where Fisk is eating. He's having one of his kingpin dinners alone in a restaurant, and Luca decides to go in, and he's gonna fucking hit him. He's gonna kill him. He's gonna put a hit on him. So he goes into the restaurant. He's about to take him out from behind, draws his gun, and then Buck fucking blows his brains out and shoots him right then and there. As it's going on, they knew the whole thing was happening, and Fisk barely flinches and is like, "Hey, Buck, thank you for that. Can you call Vanessa and ask her if she wants anything, you know, from the restaurant?" Like, so calmly does that, and that was it. So it was snuffed out, and that's where the episode ends. So my question for you is, I thought there were two sides to this. The way I viewed this scene was Vanessa literally was trying to take out Wilson Fisk. She was trying to kill him. And he knew it was coming, that some sort of power play like this would be coming, and had Buck ready to fucking take him out and to stop it. And then afterwards pulls like a baller move to be like, oh yeah, my wife just tried to kill me. But, you know, I'll get over it. No big deal. Ask if she wants anything from the restaurant, and I'll bring it home from her. Or, and this is the way Angie took it, was that it was a setup. That they set up Luca with this whole thing. That Vanessa and Wilson are working together. Your thoughts?
I saw it the way Angie did. I walked away thinking that clearly she told him what was happening, and he knew what to expect, and that's why Buck was there. And him saying, like, call her Vanessa and ask her if she wants to go to the restaurant is more of a let her know everything's okay and I'm coming home. And I think the big thing that made me think this was every time he's had his kingpin meals, it's been in this secluded place with the cage.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't really go to we've never seen him at these restaurants. And his wife is like, no, he goes to this restaurant all the time. But we've never seen that. And so I think that this is Vanessa going, okay, yeah, oh, you want to kill Kingpin? All right, yeah, all right, we'll take care of that. Kingpin, we're gonna flush this fucking guy out. That's how I saw it.
Huh. Okay. Do you think? What are your thoughts on my version of my interpretation of the scene?
I think I never thought about it. I think it's really
possibility?
interesting. No, of course there is. Of course there's a possibility. Because it could go the other
Uh-huh.
way. It could be like now he's becoming more of what he doesn't want to become, right? Because he loves Vanessa. He genuinely does. He
Mhm.
wants that to be a real relationship in his life. And the more that she's kind of goes to the crime side, the less chance of that there is. So it could very easily be like this is his break where she becomes less his wife and more his subordinate. Like, I know what you did. You can't do anything. You're my wife. You're stuck with it. So, and that furthers his arc of going down the path of the man he doesn't want to be. So I think both could be true. But the way I originally saw it, when I my gut reaction when I was watching it was, oh shit, she set him up. That was a big thing. Like it wasn't like I was sitting there going, I don't know what happened. Like I did have a gut reaction that was Angie's.
Okay. I mean, listen, I'm curious to see. I mean, imagine in episode 8 we're going to find out. We'll find out who hit this, who nailed this, and who didn't. They're both interesting. I both think they're both very plausible.
Agreed.
Well,
and they'd both be very interesting to follow.
Yeah, and the way I saw it too is I thought that Fisk is, again, essentially he knows how Vanessa thinks, and was like, all right, I'm just going to be prepared, and I'm going to let her know that you can't fuck with me. Like, I still love you. Yeah. You're going to be my wife, but I am the one with the upper hand here. Like when I want to, I'm in control.
Whether you want to or not, you're stuck with me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's kind of, I don't know. I'm fascinated to see which one this way goes, because I'm going to tell you, until Angie said something when I was rewatching this earlier, the way you guys interpreted it did not cross my mind at all, and obviously vice versa. So that's interesting.
And I think it was set up that way. Set up to make you go in one camp or the other and not really know what's going to happen.
No. All right. Well, we'll see. I mean, tomorrow night, episode 8 drops, so we'll find out. You usually wait to watch it, though, right? Like, I'm the one who's like jonesing at 9 o'clock.
I wait because if I watch it if I don't watch it close enough to the episode, I run the risk of forgetting because I get the memory of a goldfish.
Well, I watch these episodes twice. Like I always watch it. I want to watch it from completely a fan perspective the first night as soon as it happens, so there's no spoilers and yada yada. I'm ahead of it, and then the day we do the show, I try to do my second watch of it so I can take my notes and refresh and everything like that.
Yeah,
because there's no way I'm going to remember everything from the night. Yeah, no, and I get it. I have a little. I try to carve out the time. I know.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll see where that goes. Tomorrow night or sometime this week. All right. Then let's get to our movie of the week, shall we? As we continue our run of adaptations of Alan Moore films from his graphic novels. Last time we covered From Hell. Now we're on to The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, starring Sean Connery. I rewatched this movie.
Sean Connery and no one else.
I mean, let me pull up the cast quickly, and we can get to because he's like the big title guy.
No, he is. They spent like millions on him.
I'll take the rapist.
And do you know why he took this role?
Wasn't it?
Do you know why he took this role?
Wasn't it a payday thing?
No, it's even worse. It's because he was offered the role of Gandalf in Lord of the Rings, and read the script and went, "What the fuck is this? This'll never shell. I won't do this shit." And then, of course, Lord of the Rings was Lord of the Rings. And then he was offered this, and he went, "I don't understand this, but I guess this'll sell."
Yeah, right. Like,
and this was the last movie he appeared in. He retired after this movie.
no, it's funny you just beat me too because I just quickly looked up his IMDb because I was like, I remember this being Sean Connery's last movie, and that was like a story. And I'm like, was it really though? Like, or am I going to be misspeaking here? But you're right. This was Sean Connery's final film, which is completely insane to think about.
It's depressing. No matter how you feel about this movie, I think it's depressing. I will say this though. I think Sean Connery has done worse movies than this. For this to be the one to make him retire, I'm gonna put my cards on the table right here. This is not a good movie. This is an awful adaptation of the book. This is entertaining. This is not the worst movie Sean Connery has ever done. I think people who are giving it a half a star on fucking Rotten Tomatoes or whatever, half a tomato, whatever the fuck that scale is, it's like, this is a movie.
It's a movie. It's definitely a movie. It's undoubtedly a movie. I'm also now since I had his IMDb up, I'm looking through the stuff of Sean Connery and I'm trying to find out what is worse that I've seen at least because I've not seen
worse.
What was that?
Zardoz is worse. I've seen Zardoz.
Okay.
And he did that, but I don't think he was famous when he did that, so fair enough. I think this is a better movie than Never Say Never Again, which is that unofficial James Bond thing.
Wow. Okay.
It's a lot more fun than Never Say Never Again. Look, and I'm an apologist for this movie in the sense that I enjoy it. It's a hell of a lot better than the Avengers movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was one that popped up here because man, his track record was pretty impeccable. I'm gonna be honest.
It's better than Highlander 2. The Quickening.
Oh boy. Wow. Yeah,
right?
You're right. That's no question about that because that thing was a total fucking huge steaming pile of shit.
It's dog shit. That's the steaming pile of dog shit. So, like, I'm not saying it's a good movie, but it's not the worst he's done. So the fact that it made him retire is like, I think it brings undue hate onto this movie. There's reasons to dislike this movie. And if you're a fan of the book, yes, hate this movie as you will. But as a movie itself, I don't think it's as bad as people say.
All right, so as someone who has never read the graphic novel, I have nothing to compare this to. I recognize the random characters that pop up of the League, you know, that are in there, so I'm familiar with some of the stuff and everything like that. The inclusion of Tom Sawyer, I felt, was completely ludicrous. Just did not understand why this dude was in the movie at all. I wasn't bored by this movie. I don't like this movie. I don't think it's a good movie. But I can say I will honestly say that I was never bored at any point. I just thought it was kind of an odd movie of just like, let's just jam together all these random characters from folklore and just make them an Avengers type team, right? Like Captain Nemo and Alan Quarterman and let me go down the rest of it. Like
Harker,
why is
Mina Harker,
Dr. Jekyll,
and Mr. Hyde, and for the movie Dorian Gray.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And Tom Sawyer. Like again, it was just like, hey, let's just jam together all these random characters and see what they would do together. And again, like an Avengers type team, right? And that's what I figured the concept of this movie was. And
that is the concept of the book, to be honest with you. Like,
yeah,
it is just, let's pretend, and they're all specifically figures in Victorian literature, and I guess I do have a leg up on some people because I've taken multiple classes in Victorian literature. I mean, I studied English in college. I've read and taught Dracula. I've read and taught Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I've read and taught The Invisible Man. I've read.
Oh yes, the Invisible Man.
I've never read I've never read the Alan Quartermain stuff. I didn't even know who he was, honestly. But I've also read a lot of Sherlock Holmes, and I was in the Sherlock Holmes play, and it's more in the book that's important, but that is also here. So I do know a lot about Victorian lit. I do know these characters. These characters feel very familiar to me. So I do like the idea of putting like, all right, literature. We're gonna fucking get some badasses of literature and put an Avengers team together. I think that's a fun idea.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But the way it plays out in the movie is partially fun. To a point, it's fun.
I think this movie, and I'm going to go back to what I had texted you. I think I am on board with this movie while the team is forming and stuff like that, and yada yada. I'm good to go until they get to that city where they pull up to there with Captain Nemo's sword of the sea and everything like that. And I kind of feel like that's when the movie was like, hey, guess what? The team has been formed. We got it. We're together. And now we're going to completely go batshit crazy. And that's when the movie, I think, turns into the League of Extraordinary Convenience. When things, dude.
I love that.
Jason, Tom Sawyer should have been fucking dead twice in the one scene that I'm referring to.
Yeah,
He takes a car and goes crashing over some fucking thing. It should have been splattered. And he gets up like, oh, barely a flesh wound. Oh, look at that. Let me just dust myself off and get the fuck back up. Tom Sawyer has others have superhuman abilities in this movie. He is one of the characters that does not. And I don't know how he gets up from this. Like, and I get what kind of movie we're watching, but you went out of your way to establish the power set of certain characters. Therefore, again, like, what do you always say? You establish your universe, follow the fucking rules of it.
That's right.
And so it's like, why is he here?
And that's the thing is this movie, against the actual text and against the graphic novel itself, makes Mina Harker a full-on vampire. She's not in the comic book. She never becomes a vampire in Dracula. They do that. But you know what? They say that is the reality that we're working in. Okay. So then give us some reason that this guy, Tom Sawyer, is going to be immortal, or give it the thing where he's such a super spy where he can dodge bullets. Give us something.
Yep.
But they don't.
No, they choose not to. And by the way, why on earth does Mina Harker have bats randomly appear when she wants them to, when she decides to start fighting? What is that about?
Okay, I can explain this.
Okay.
It's I'm not saying it's good, but Dracula in the original Dracula book, Dracula can call forth bats.
Okay.
And he does so a couple times, not to fight. It's not like a fucking, comic book thing where he's like, I swarm you with bats. He can control bats and wolves and shit. And I guess because it's running under the assumption that Dracula made her a vampire, she can do that, even though none of the other Dracula people, the people turned by Dracula, can do that. And I only know this because I've read the book, and everyone knows how I feel about having to do fucking homework for a movie. And just because I did the homework does not mean I'm going to give it a pass here.
Exactly. We've gone over this on multiple times, right? Like when we used to go to war with Bear about Batman v Superman when it came out, when we had the original Granny speech tape, right? That was a movie we covered, and we were banging on that drum. And it's true though. Like again, watching other movies is one thing, or TV shows is one thing. But if you're telling people that they had to read the actual comics to understand the fucking film, that is piss poor writing. Same thing with when I watched Twilight with Angie. right? Because she's read those books and she was a big fan of them, and she, I decided I watched those films with her. Okay, they're awful, and there was a scene in the first one where like Edward's smelling Bella and all this other shit, and in the movie they don't tell you what the fuck is going on. He's just there, and it looks like he's taking a shit or something. Either that, or he was just dying to bang her that badly. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but I don't know that because I'm just a viewer who's watching the movie. Bad writing,
and that's it. And the fact is, when you read the book, it doesn't do any of that shit. It's like, excuse me, I understood the book better and got a more nuance from it because I have read a bunch of Victorian literature. Reading the Victorian literature was not a prerequisite to appreciating the book.
and nor should it.
I feel like in a lot of instances, like, and even in Dorian Gray, because you texted me, right? Like, and Dorian Gray, by the way, not even in the fucking book. Not even in the book. But he is a face of Victorian literature, and you had texted me like, why don't you just burn the painting? And I'm like, well, in the book he can't because and then I'm explaining it to you, and I'm like, but that's actually, none of that is here. That's just, I just know this because I've done the homework.
Exactly. And again, bad writing. You need to explain that in some dialogue. That's all. Just explain
something. A piece of dialogue. Oh, man, I wish I could burn this, but it would kill me too. Something.
And the one thing I did get a kick out of early on in the movie is when M is putting together the team, and Sean Connery's Alan Quatermain meets M, and I was like, oh, that's cute. Okay, James Bond, M. All right, and that's when I'm like, all right, this movie's kind of, at the time, I'm like, all right, this movie's kind of smart. He did a little wink to the audience and stuff like that. I get it, and I'm on board. And I thought that's what we're getting.
Although that's directly from the book.
No, which is fine.
We can't actually. Yeah, but no, we can't credit the movie with that cleverness.
Yes, I was applying cleverness to the film for it that perhaps they didn't. I don't know, but then again, I'm telling you, like, that was the scene where they arrive on Captain Nemo's thing. Right after that, the movie, you lost me with a lot of things. Then M turns out to be the villain, and his whole thing was to get all their DNA and like copy them or clone them or some dumb shit. And
that was
I didn't.
That was really stupid.
Stupid.
It was stupid, and brace yourself here. Not in the graphic novel at all. Anything to do with it. Brace yourself. It was like the whole thought of like, well, it's like the 4D chess we're hearing about, right? Well, we're gonna get Alan Quatermain, and we're gonna get him to get Hyde, so we can get Hyde, and then we're gonna get some stuff from the Invisible Man who we hired. And I mean, we hired him, so I guess we just could have gotten something from him. But whatever, let's handwave that. And Mina Harker, who we also hired, we could have just gotten something from her handwave. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. It's a lot of bullshit for nothing.
Yeah. And do you want to know what the book is? You want to know what the story of the book is?
I want to know. I'm dying to know now because I've already shit on the movie's story on its own. So please.
So here's a book. Mina Harker, who is not a vampire, who is just an incredibly capable, intelligent woman who survived an encounter with Dracula, is asked to be head of this team and put together.
Mm-hmm.
The first person she has to recruit is Alan Quatermain, who is an opium addict that she has to fucking scoop up from an opium den in China. So not Sean Connery at all. Captain Ahab is there. He's pretty much Captain Ahab. He's pretty awesome. They do a good job of Captain Ahab, the characterization in this movie, I think.
Okay.
Instead of go to the Rue in Paris, in France, they go to the Rue Morgue, which is a nod to an Edgar Allan Poe story, Murders in the Rue Morgue. where the murderer was, hashtag spoilers for a 200-year-old story, an orangutan, and it's been brought up again by something similar, and the inspector is kind of looking into it, and they help him, and what is actually killing these people is Edward Hyde, and they subdue him by shoving opium in his mouth. Uh, and then he wakes up, and then he's Jekyll. They get the Invisible Man, who in this movie is not the real Invisible Man, because I think there was still some rights issues with it. Okay. So he was like the thief who stole from the Invisible Man. But in the book, he's the actual Hawley Griffith Invisible Man, who's this insane fucking psychopathic scientist who turned himself invisible, and he faked his own death, and he has been living in a Catholic girls' school where he's been pretending to be the Holy Ghost while he rapes girls and gets them pregnant.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's fucking dark. It's dark.
Yeah, I wasn't. That's like boy shit right there.
No, yeah, no, it's really crazy. And when you see like how they catch him, like a girl is being taken by the Holy Spirit, and they run in, and she's just in the air, and they realize, wait a minute, there's someone here. It's a crazy story. And so they're all recruited, and the plot is not like someone is trying to start the next world war. The plot is an Asian gangster who kind of looks like this Asian gangster that we see, but is not. That's the actual M. Is ruling the East End of England or London or whatever, and he has stolen something called the Carvite, which allows airships to fly. It defies gravity. It's like this weird thing, and they're hired to get it. They're employed to get it back, and when they do, they give it back. And M is revealed to be Professor Moriarty. Yes. We get the whole backstory about how Sherlock Holmes was actually killed, and how the government, and this is the twist, the government helped him kill Sherlock Holmes because he was in MI6 himself. He was a government employee who was sent to infiltrate the criminal empire. Wow. But he went so undercover that he became the criminal empire, and he got this stuff back in order to destroy the East End of London and wipe out his competition. And they find out they've been lied to and go on his ship to fucking stop him. That's the story of the book.
Oh my. All right. So I was also going to say the League of Extraordinary Wasted Potential, as it could be another way they could refer to this movie.
Absolutely. And because they add so much they don't need to. They add this whole weird, we need their blood plot. They add this whole Dorian Gray plot, which we don't need. They add this Tom Sawyer plot. The fact that they make Quatermain the leader kind of undermines the whole point of the story itself. Like, it's a very feminist story. Like, when Mina goes to get Quatermain, she's almost raped. Jesus. And like she can't overcome them, and he helps her. Like he like comes out of his stupor and shoots someone, and then like she is insisting on not insisting, but she is sort of showing her like, I am in charge, I am this, I have power, I have agency. It's a very feminist story. None of that is in this movie.
Yeah, and in place of it, we also get basically the climax of the film is where they flash back to Tom Sawyer getting a shooting lesson from Alan Quatermain, and he shoots Moriarty because he should be calm and take his time to take the shot. What?
So stupid.
The fuck? I was like, holy fucking unclimactic film, Batman. Like, that was it? That was your big reveal? Like, that's why Tom Sawyer is... I don't... Dude, I was pretty pissed with the end of it, and also to the fact that they bring Alan Quatermain back to Africa because they make this whole fucking thing of Africa will never let him die.
Yeah.
He's not in Africa majority of the film.
I start off in Africa, and then I leave Africa in the
And then
first
I'm
5
back.
minutes. And then I come back and it won't let me die. I'm an immortal. I'm a Highlander. Then I start in Highlander 2, The Quickening.
And I was like, you motherfuckers thought you were going to revive Quatermain and you were going to start a franchise.
They thought they
Didn't
were
you?
starting a franchise. They did. They honestly 100% did.
I was like, fuck you, movie, fuck you, Fox, at the time for your bullshit with this. Because yes, this was a Fox-made film when they were taking random shots of screwing up X-Men at the time too.
And do you know what's really bad is had they made a better movie, had they actually stuck more to what was going on in the book, which clearly worked, because people still enjoy the book, and no one fucking watches this movie, they probably could have started a franchise because the book has a couple of sequels.
Yeah. This is that the Fox at that 20th Century Fox at that time had gold everywhere for the rights that they had. But decides to screw all of it up. They were screwing up the X-Men at this time. They already started that after they started off so well. Then they went ahead and were screwing up Daredevil. They were screwing up Ghost Rider, and this was also on the list because they just had no idea what they were doing. They just thought they can get really cutesy and start screwing around with these adaptations, and no, they got it.
But this one pissed me off because this one could have been really good. Like this one could, like the money's there. It's not a bad looking movie.
No,
it's a movie. Like we said, it's a fucking movie. This isn't Supergirl. This isn't like an experiment or an experience. This is a movie that just doesn't work. And a lot of the irony is what does work in the movie is present in the book. And what doesn't is where they deviate.
And we've seen it all the time.
Because I think the characters, for the most part, are pretty solid. That are like Mina Harker, although I think she's better in the book. I think Ahab is the best of them. I think
is there a difference between Ahab and Captain Nemo? Is there a difference between the two, or no?
Oh, I meant Captain Nemo. I'm sorry, I meant Captain Nemo. Ahab is the guy from Moby Dick. He's the American Nemo, but Captain Nemo is what I meant. Captain Nemo really fucking. I think he works the best in this. But he's also the closest to the book. But them making the choice of like, all right, this is an American film. We can't have a woman be in charge, so we're gonna make the man be in charge, and we have to have an American in here. So we're gonna add Tom Sawyer, and well, that man has to be a dad. So like, none of that fucking works.
Yeah, this is somebody who the writers either read the source material and just decided to do their own cutesy little edits, or they didn't read the source material and just read the cliff notes and went off that.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and yeah. I was gonna add to that, but no, that's it. That's what it is.
Yeah. But again, interesting concept, but I kind of just feel like in the end, like we had mentioned, just stick closer to the source material. If this movie came out like 10 years later, when studios felt like they didn't have to get all and start screwing with the source material, I think we probably get a much better version of this. I would not be shocked at all if we get some sort of reboot of this at some point.
You know that I'm anti-reboot for the most part. You know that I'm anti-fucking revisiting anything. I want this redone so badly in a way that represents what the actual story is. Because, this, much like Watchmen, which we're going to talk about in a couple of weeks, Alan Moore has one thing. He hates superheroes.
Yep.
He absolutely fucking hates them. And all of the superheroes are flawed and fucked up. And this book is the first exploration of that. And this movie does not represent that at all. And I would love to see this redone, with the actual Alan Moore sensibilities in, where Mina Harker's the leader, Alan Quartermain's the drug addict, and this is about flawed people who were brought together to be heroes.
Yeah. I mean, based on their things with The Boys and Invincible, seems like this is right up Amazon's alley. So make it a series on Prime Video.
You want to know what happens in the sequel to The Invisible Man, because it is the most disturbing thing to happen, I think, in an Alan Moore comic book.
What's up?
So in the sequel, which has to do with War of the Worlds and the Islander Dr. Moreau, it's really crazy. The Invisible Man, who, as you could have gathered from what I said before, is an actual fucking rapist villain, tries to rape Mina Harker. And unsuccessfully, and she gets away. And as retaliation, Edward Hyde, who's become very fond of her, and who can actually see the Invisible Man, rapes him to death.
Wow.
Yeah, it's dark, man.
Yeah, that's pretty dark, I would say. Wow.
I don't need to see that in live action, but it's dark.
If Prime Video got a hold of it, we probably would. If Amazon got a hold of it,
we did graphic shit.
Exactly. Like Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, who produced The Boys, if they got a hold of it, yeah, we probably would. So, all right. Anything left on anything else on the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen before we wrap this up?
Nah, I think that's all I got. It was good talk. So,
not exactly, again, wasted potential is kind of, I think, what we both agree on. Is what this film.
Yeah, I'd say if anyone watched this and went, "My God, I wish that was better," because that had potential.
Read it.
It's a book. Read it.
Yeah,
it's really good. I reread it for this episode, which I never did. There's more homework I've ever done for this show. Fucking quick read, really fun, and really gets at the heart of what Alan Moore is all about when he writes his superhero shit.
All right. Well, that wraps it up for us this week. Thank you, as always, for joining us. If you're joining us on the Facebook live stream, be sure to check out Granny's Peachy's Facebook group. Come join the group, participate, comment, everything like that. We got a bunch of trailers and other stories that don't make the show, so you can check us out there. Check out Pop Culture Pros and popculturepros.com, because that's who we are presented by on Facebook as well. And also the website. Check out popculturepros.com. Also, if you're catching us on YouTube, subscribe to Pop Culture Pros and wherever you found your audio-only podcast. We'll be back next week to break down the episode 8 of Daredevil Born Again, along with the season 2 premiere of The Last of Us, because that's coming back on Sunday.
Shit, I gotta start playing.
Yeah, Jason, better get that going, man.
Gotta get what I started. I gotta keep an episode ahead.
And I guess we'll talk off-site about where we're going for our next movie, unless you know what's movies next for Alan Moore.
If we're going Alan Moore, I think V for Vendetta is next.
Oh, all right. Well, guess what? We have our movie the week, V for Vendetta. So V for Vendetta, and we got 2 shows next week. So a lot to talk about there. Damn, I watched that once. I'm excited to see that because it's been a while since I've watched it.
I gotta say that I will have the most to say about that because I have seen that movie more than any of these Alan Moore movies. And I have literally tried to find a reason to teach it in a lot. Like I've taught this movie a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So I have a lot to say about it.
There you go. All right. So we'll see you next week. Peace.
Later.